Hey everybody, Christopher Neiman. Guess what we're going to do today? We're going to be sewing on faux leather. Yes, faux leather. A lot of you like making handbags out there, and I want to show you that your embroidery machine that you've been using, which is a convertible to a regular sewing machine, can we use faux leather instead of just cotton? This is my Singer Futura XL550. Stay tuned to find out. You don't want to miss this one. Okay, welcome back everybody. So this is a faux leather. They call it vinyl. But the way it looks though, it's a faux leather, which is a fancier look. It does resemble leather. You can see this one has like a croc or alligator look to it. And we're going to have some success with this. So a couple of things I want to point out to you is that what we're going to use to sew this, for the bobbin thread, we're going to use, let me see if I get this in my light correctly here so you can see it good. We're going to use dual duty all-purpose for the bobbin. Dual duty XP all-purpose for the bottom. For the top, we're going to use dual duty heavy. Dual duty XP heavy. And for the needle, I'm using a leather needle by Class A, size 18. Okay? So I'll take you through that there. And then what we're going to use is we're going to use a Teflon non-stick foot. I'm going to use a non-stick foot there. Okay? So let me get this light balanced here. There we go. All right. Now, because most of us have just used this machine for embroidery, we really haven't used it for sewing. The bobbin case in here is already tightened down for construction thread. Or I'm sorry, for embroidery thread. And the embroidery thread is really, really fine. So what you can do is you can use or buy an additional bobbin case for your construction thread. Okay? All right, so here's what we're going to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a mistake, and then I'm going to show you how to correct the mistake. It's all about the setup, and I preach that all the time with everybody. It's all about the setup. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over here. We're going to do a middle straight stitch. I'm going to adjust my stitch length, and I'm going to sew this. We're going to sew it at a 4.0. Okay, I'm going to sew this at a 4.0. So let me go ahead and sew this at 4.0 for you, and you're going to see what's going to happen. So this is just 2 layers I'm going to use. Oh, also, I want to point out something to you. If I decide to keep this machine as a, I'm sorry, I am keeping it. If I decide to use this machine a lot for construction, for regular sewing, I will be making an extension table for this machine later. Because an extension table is so very important when you're laying your fabric down, so you have proper placement of the fabric and your hands and your arms when you're sewing. You can watch a lot of my videos. I explain that. There's a video that explains on my YouTube channel that explains what happened to extension tables, you know, when machines became portable. Now, another thing too is in teaching vinyl, teaching to sew on faux leather, I actually wrote a book. I'll show you this. I wrote a book in CD in 2010 called Celebrity Bags. And this teaches you not only how to sew using faux leather, but it also teaches you how to construct how to make your own patterns. So you're going to construct on faux leather, you're going to construct on other materials, and it's got 12 built-in embroidery designs digitized from metallic threads. And I've been teaching everybody how to load up and use metallic threads successfully. So it's a CD, and it's available. It's been available on my website. It's been a great resource for so many people. All right, so here is a sneak peek into that book. This is just a little icing on the cake for you, just a little taste of icing to give you a little enticement to say, hey, maybe I do want to make some bags, you know, because bags are really popular out there. Now, normally when you sew 2 pieces of vinyl together, you're going to sew them together like this, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew them. When I say together, I mean you're going to sew, when you sew a seam, it's always right sides together, but I'm going to sew wrong sides together so you can see. All right? Now remember, that heavy-duty thread is on top. And one of the things you got to remember is when you use heavier threads And on thicker fabrics also, always sew with a longer stitch length. People seem to make a mistake and they want to sew really tight stitch lengths, really short stitch lengths. And what that'll do is that not only rip your vinyl, but most of the time your vinyl won't even move on you. All right, so here I go. You see how nice that's sewing? I have to tell you, this machine is a good sewing machine. Alright, so now I'm going to use the scissor cutter, which works fabulous in the regular sewing mode on this machine. Now, let's see what the back looks like. Oh my, look at how bad that is. Look at all those loopies. Look at those loopies. Oh my gosh. Now, let's pretend you're a newbie and you're thinking, this machine won't work, this machine won't do this. You know, what the hell's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here's what you do. Don't panic. That's why people like me are around to help you all. All right, so first thing you want to do is, why are there loopies under here? All right, first of all, I kept the original bobbin case that I used for embroidery. And that bobbin case is tighter because the thread is finer for the bobbin thread for embroidery, right? Since I'm using construction thread in here, when it goes in here and you pull it, it's really tight. So that bobbin thread is pulling down that top thread because this bobbin case is calibrated for me for my embroidery bobbin thread. So it's a little tight for the construction thread. So without having to replace the bobbin case, what do? Let me explain and show you. We go over to our tension setting. We're going to increase the tension. That's the plus sign here. Now here's the problem. Let me click once so you can see. All right. So now I'm going to click it, and look it. There is no numbers to tell you what number you're setting your tension at. So I'm just going to take it and move it to like halfway up there, about right there, where that tower is halfway up. So that's one thing that, you know, there's no number setting. So I can't even give you a number on this machine. So now let's try and stitch this again. Something happened. What happened? Something happened. Oh, my bobbin thread didn't pick up. So let's go in here. Now here's one thing when you're sewing with vinyl and when you're sewing with leather, if you poke holes in it, that piece is done. That piece is done. So now normally, here, I'm going to show you something when you thread this normally, okay? It goes through this little, see, up here, it wraps around here, then it cuts there, put it back in. So let's see. You see? Now, listen, these you newbie people out there, I want you to notice that, you know, I'm showing you all these mistakes that can happen to you and mistakes that even happen to us veterans. All right, now the bobbin thread caught. Okay, bobbin thread picked up. Okay, so here we go. I need to move this camera in front here so you can see as it's sewing. All right. This machine does sew nice. So instead of hitting the scissor button when you're sewing vinyl, my suggestion would be to pull out a long thread tail and then cut it, okay? I would suggest not using the scissor cutter when you're going to be sewing on fabrics like this because you don't want to risk that chance of putting holes in that it doesn't pick up. Now let's look at the back. Oh my God, the back is so much better, isn't it? Let me see if I can get this in the camera better. Hold on now. So much better. You see that? There it is. So much better. I can even increase it a little bit more. Looks like I can increase it a little bit more. So let's increase it a little bit more. There we go. One more. Let's do one more. There. Now let's try it again. This is why you always do test scraps first on anything new. Any new fabric, any new needles you're using, all different threads. I test everything. You know, I've learned that from the very beginning. No matter how much I know I'm experienced at something, you use test scraps on everything. Just like when you make a garment and you're using a pattern for the first time, make that pattern in muslin first to do all your testing and adjusting. All right, come on, let's go. All right, let's see what this one looks like. Much better. You see that? You bring it out here. Much better. Look at that. Much better. There's the first on the left, the second we sewed. You can see little dots in the seam on the second. And the third, so much better. So much better. Now, let me move it over here. What if you're going to sew around a bag? Well, when you sew around the bag, what's a bag take? When you're sewing around the bag, what is that? 4 layers, right? Like when you fold it over and you want to sew on the top of the bag, that takes like 4 layers. So let's see if I can sew 4 layers on this machine and how well it's going to sew. So I've got 4 layers here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. All right? All right. So let me get these as even as I can for you all. And let's see how well this sews on the 4 layers. So if I'm going to sew these 4 layers, maybe I want to increase that stitch length, or that tension, just a little bit more. There we go. Let's try that. All right. Let's watch how nice let's watch how nice these feed dogs are going to feed these 4 layers of vinyl. All right, let's check that out. All right, check this out now. Let's look. There's the top. Very nice. Let's look at the bottom. Oh, we got a couple little loops there. No loops. Let's see here. Hold on. Hold on. All right, so I'm going to increase the tension all the way up now. There we go. I may have to use a size 20 needle on here. This needle may be too. This needle may not be big enough for these 4 layers. I might have to switch to a size 20 needle. So let's try this one more time. Or like I said, the other thing is just put your regular bobbin case in and calibrate it for your regular construction thread. Buy a second bobbin case. All right, here we go. There's that. Now this will be on the left now. And there's, oh, much better. Look at that on the left. Much better. Much better. Much better. But in all honesty, if I were going to be using this a lot for sewing, regular sewing with the vinyl, I would use this. Now, I'm going to get a size 20 needle, and we're going to sew with a size 20 needle on this and see what that does. I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got an organ needle here. This is a size 20 organ needle. All right. See what the numbers are on that? You see the type of needle it is? I've been teaching you all about needles, and you go to the websites of these companies and you read what the numbers mean and what type of needles they are. So this is what we're going to be using on this one. So you all can do some research and find out. Now, the teacher's going to give you a quiz, give you a search to look up and ask you questions. What type of needle is that? All right, so here we go. So now we're going to do those same 4 layers with this size 20 needle now and see what happens. Here we go. Will it look as nice as the size 18 needle? Let's find out. So it'll be on the left now. Nope, it's got little loops in it. See, it's got, oh no, that's not, those are little holes. Those are holes punching through because the needle is too thick. Here's a middle one here. There you go. So let's try a smaller leather needle and see what happens with even a smaller leather needle if we're going to get those holes. I'll be right back. All right, so I did not have a smaller size leather needle, but what I did have is my trusty top stitch size 16 needle. You know, years ago when they told you to sew with vinyl, they would tell you to use a ballpoint needle. Since I don't sew with a lot of knits, I don't carry a lot of ballpoint needles. And I've always had luck with top stitch on everything. I don't know, man. This top stitch needle is a lifesaver. So what's going to happen if I use this size 16 top stitch needle? Let's find out. let's find out what it's going to look on here. Are you ready? All right, here we go. Now, I do want to say something to everybody. The veterans who tell me they've been sewing for 40 years and there's nothing I can teach them, you don't have to watch this video, you know, because I already know that you know all this stuff. It's the newbies that I want to make sure I help, because the newbies, you know, they need to know that veterans like me still have to experiment. We're still trying. You know, it's sewing is always all about experimenting and perfecting, always, and you never stop learning. Doesn't this feed nice? I'm not even using a walking foot. It's just a Teflon foot. All right, let's see what this looks like. All right, you ready for the big reveal? All right, looks good on top, right? Let's flip it over. That is the best. Look at that. That is beautiful. And those are the little holes you're seeing popping through. But that top stitch needle looks great. Let me sew on this side because I think I've been sewing on the. Let me sew on this side. Let me do another. Let me do a new one here. That looks pretty darn good. All right, there's the top, which is beautiful. Here's the bottom. That looks great. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Look at that. No loopies anymore, right? Can you see that? Look at that. Now, who would have thought a top stitch needle size 16 for those 4 layers of vinyl? Who would have thought? You see, this is why we experiment. And as I explained in a lot of my videos to the newbies, the type of needle and the size is very important. So when an experienced sewer says to you, oh, use a 116. 116 what? You know, and the newbies are like confused, like, okay. And they may use 116 universal and nothing's working right. So when you explain to newbies what type of needles to use, tell them, use a top stitch needle 100/16. And that's better education for them to understand, because it's very confusing. It's very confusing. It's like when you describe a car. What kind of car do you drive? Oh, I drive a I drive a 2006 car. Okay, but what kind of car? You know, there's so many different brands, so many different types. Same with needles, right? Oh, I drive a 2006 Lexus whatever. Lexus, what's some brands? Let's just say a Chevy Pontiac or Chevy Pontiac. Let's just say, remember Oldsmobile used to be around? Let's see. Let's do, I drive a 2015 Hyundai Sonoma. Is that one of the models? You know, then a person sees in their mind. So if you tell somebody, use a top stitch needle size 16, they're going to understand better, okay? So now that you've seen success sewing on vinyl on a Singer Futura, then you know that anybody can sew on vinyl on these machines and have success, right? And don't forget, guys, if you want to learn even more, there's my CD. All right, remember that. So here, and look at dual duty, heavy on top, all-purpose construction for the bobbin. Now, if I was going to be using this machine constantly, I would use my second backup bobbin case, which is calibrated for the regular construction thread. But I wanted to show you, if you do not want to take your embroidery bobbin case out and just replace the embroidery thread with the construction thread, how to override on the tension there to get success. I hope this video helped you. And like I said, I just have owned these Singer machines for a couple weeks now. So even though I didn't use these machines in my book to teach sewing, I just proved to you, you can have success. You can have success. All right, everybody, take care until my next video. Love you. Bye.